In 1945, as Nazi Germany crumbled, someone made a desperate decision. They gathered 5,000 of the world's most advanced rifles, sealed them in crates, and buried them deep underground. For decades, this fortune slept in silence, until someone found it. This is not a legend. This is not a movie. This actually happened. And today we're going to calculate exactly how much this discovery is worth, who it belongs to, and why it might be the most controversial treasure ever found. Let me take you back to April 1945. Berlin is burning. The Red Army is closing in from the east. American and British forces push from the west. The Third Reich has weeks, maybe days left. And somewhere in the chaos, Nazi officers face an impossible situation. They have stockpiles of weapons, mountains of ammunition, and thousands upon thousands of Sturmgewehr 44 rifles. The StG44 wasn't just any weapon. It was revolutionary. The world's first true assault rifle. It could fire single shots with precision or unleash automatic bursts. It was lighter than a machine gun, more powerful than a standard rifle. Hitler himself called it a masterpiece. But now these weapons are a liability. If the Allies capture them, they'll study them, copy them, use Germany's innovation against whatever remains of the Reich. And if the Soviets get them, even worse. So orders come down from somewhere in the collapsing command structure. Hide them, bury them, make them disappear. Picture this scene, nighttime. A forest somewhere in central Germany. Trucks arrive carrying wooden crates. Soldiers dig frantically. They're exhausted, terrified, knowing the war is lost. They lower crate after crate into the earth. 5,000 rifles, each one wrapped, greased, protected. Then they cover everything, compact the soil, scatter leaves and branches. Within hours, it's as if nothing was ever there. Some of those soldiers probably died in the final weeks of the war. Others were captured, sent to prison camps, scattered across a divided Germany. The location died with them, or so everyone thought. The secret remained buried for 70 years. Now let's talk about what happens when you find something like this. Because this isn't finding a coin at the beach. This isn't even finding a chest of gold doubloons. This is finding 5,000 weapons from one of history's darkest regimes. In the world of military collectibles, the StG44 is royalty. Before any major discovery, a single functioning StG44 in good condition could sell for anywhere between $30,000 to $50,000 at auction. Museums fight over them. Private collectors mortgage houses to own one. Why? Because only about 425,000 were ever produced. Most were destroyed in combat, lost, confiscated, or melted down after the war. So let's do the math. 5,000 rifles. If each one sells for $40,000, that's $200 million. $200 million. But here's where it gets complicated. First, these aren't pristine rifles. They've been underground for 7 decades. Moisture seeps through any seal. Metal oxidizes. Wood rots. Even with the best preservation techniques from 1945, many of these weapons would be in terrible condition. Some might be salvageable. Others might be nothing but rust sculptures. So maybe only half are restorable. That brings us to $100 million. But then there's the market effect. Economics 101. Scarcity creates value. Flood the market with 5,000 of anything, and prices collapse. If you tried to sell all 5,000 StG44s at once, collectors would know supply just exploded. That $40,000 price tag, it might drop to $20,000, maybe 15, maybe less. Suddenly, your $200 million treasure becomes a $75 million problem. And we haven't even discussed the biggest issue yet, legality. Who owns Nazi weapons found on German soil? The answer is incredibly complex. Germany has some of the strictest weapon laws in the world, partly because of its history. Fully automatic weapons are essentially illegal for private ownership. Even deactivated military rifles require permits, documentation, proof they're non-functional. If someone found this cache in Germany and reported it, the government would likely confiscate everything immediately. The weapons would go to museums, research institutions, or be destroyed. The finder might receive a reward, but nothing close to market value. We're talking maybe 1%, $2 million if you're incredibly lucky. But what if the finder didn't report it? What if they tried to smuggle the weapons out, sell them on the black market, distribute them through underground collector networks? Now we're talking about serious international crime, trafficking military weapons across borders, potential terrorism charges, prison sentences measured in decades. There's also the ethical dimension. These aren't just valuable antiques. They're symbols of the Nazi regime. Every one of these rifles was manufactured with slave labor. The StG44 production facilities used concentration camp prisoners. People died making these weapons. People died from these weapons. They're soaked in blood and suffering. Some Holocaust survivors and Jewish organizations have argued that Nazi memorabilia shouldn't be bought or sold at all, that profiting from these objects is profiting from genocide. Others, including many historians and museum professionals, argue that preserving these artifacts is essential for education, for remembering what happened, for ensuring it never happens again. So let's imagine you're the person who found this treasure. You're walking through a forest, maybe with a metal detector, maybe just by chance. You notice something, you start digging, and then you see it, a wooden crate. You pry it open and there it is, a StG44, another crate, another rifle, and another, and another. What do you do? Your first thought is probably the money, $200 million, life-changing wealth, generational wealth. You could retire everyone in your family. But then reality sets in. How do you even move 5,000 rifles? Each one weighs about 10 pounds. That's 50,000 pounds of steel and wood. 25 tons. You'd need trucks, storage, and the moment you try to sell even one, questions get asked. Where did this come from? How did you acquire it? Do you have documentation? If you report it to authorities, you get a small reward and a handshake. If you don't, you become an international criminal. There's no good option. The treasure becomes a curse. Here's what actually happened in real discoveries like this. Because yes, large weapon caches from World War II have been found. In 2017, a construction crew in eastern Germany discovered a Nazi weapons depot with hundreds of Panzerfaust anti-tank weapons, ammunition, and explosives. Everything was handed over to police. It was destroyed. No one got rich. In Poland, amateur treasure hunters have found multiple Wehrmacht supply dumps using metal detectors and ground-penetrating radar. Every time authorities confiscate everything, the finders sometimes face prosecution for not reporting immediately. The fantasy of finding lost Nazi gold or weapons and becoming wealthy? It almost never works out that way. The historical, legal, and ethical complications are too massive. But let's consider another kind of value, not monetary but historical. 5,000 StG44 rifles in one place would be an unprecedented archaeological find. It would tell us exactly how these weapons were stored, what preservation methods were used, maybe even provide clues about the final days of the Nazi regime in that region. Museums around the world could each receive examples for their collections. Research institutions could study the manufacturing techniques, the metallurgy, the engineering. Students could see firsthand what these weapons looked like, understand why they were so revolutionary, comprehend the industrial capacity of Nazi Germany even as it collapsed. From that perspective, the value is incalculable. Not $200 million, not even $1 billion. It's the value of preserved history, of education, of memory. There's one more angle we need to explore, the black market. Because whether we like it or not, there is a thriving underground trade in Nazi memorabilia and weapons. Collectors with questionable motives pay premium prices for SS daggers, Hitler Youth uniforms, and yes, StG44 rifles. On the dark web, a functioning StG44 might sell for even more than legal market prices, precisely because it's illegal. No paperwork, no questions, delivered in secret. Criminal organizations in Eastern Europe have been known to deal in World War II weapons. Some even end up in conflict zones, still functioning after 80 years. If someone unscrupulous found this cache, they could potentially make even more than our $200 million estimate by selling rifles one at a time, carefully, to the highest bidders. But the risk would be enormous, and the karma, unthinkable. So after all this analysis, what's the real answer? What is a treasure of 5,000 StG44 rifles actually worth? Legally and practically, if found in Germany and reported to authorities, maybe $2 to $5 million in finder's reward. That's it. The rest goes to the state. If somehow sold on the legitimate collector market over many years, possibly $75 to $100 million, but you'd need to be operating legally in a country that allows it, which basically doesn't exist for automatic weapons. On the black market, potentially more, but you'd be risking life in prison and funding criminal enterprises. And ethically, historically, the value is in preservation, in education, in ensuring these weapons end up in museums where millions of people can learn from them, where they serve as reminders of humanity's capacity for both innovation and destruction. The truth is, this kind of treasure doesn't make someone rich. It makes them a custodian of history, a person faced with an impossible decision: keep it and become a criminal, report it and receive almost nothing, or try to navigate some middle path that probably doesn't exist. Maybe that's why these caches stay buried. Maybe the people who find them take one look, understand the complications, and quietly cover everything back up. Walk away. Let the earth keep its secrets. Or maybe somewhere out there, someone did find this treasure, and right now in a warehouse we'll never see, 5,000 StG44 rifles sit in the darkness, waiting. A fortune that can never be spent, history that can never be shared. So I want to know what you think. If you found something like this, what would you do? Report it immediately? Try to find a legal way to profit? Walk away? Let me know in the comments below. And if you found this video fascinating, hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries and forgotten fortunes. Because sometimes the greatest treasures are the ones we can never truly possess.